Chapter 73. Diablo, Enzo, Hume, Myulan, Grucius, and their party traveled to Falmouth to implement their plan. Upon arrival, they found the nation in ruins, devastated by the demons summoned by Rimuru. Although few in number, the demons were immensely powerful, easily overwhelming Falmouth's insufficient and undertrained military. The destruction they left behind was enough to terrify the citizens and nobles alike, leaving the entire nation shaken. Fortunately for Falmouth, the demons departed quickly, but the damage and fear they instilled lingered. Diablo had already turned Archbishop Rayheim, Archmage Raisin, and King Edmaris into his loyal servants, making it simple to proceed with their plans. Hume was presented as the hero who had pleaded for Falmouth's survival, positioning him as a savior figure to the nation. At a court gathering, Diablo, addressing the now-healed King Edmaris and the nobles, laid out three choices to determine Falmouth's future. The first was for the king to abdicate and pay reparations. The second was for Falmouth to become a vassal nation of Tempest. The third option was to face the continuation of a war they had no hope of winning. The nobles, fully aware of Rimuru Tempest's overwhelming power as the Chaos Creator, were too terrified to object. With his demands delivered, Diablo departed, leaving Enzo behind to assist Hume in solidifying their plans and influence over Falmouth. The king, his attendants, and the nobles quickly convened, terrified of making the Chaos Creator wait. It was time to determine the future of Falmouth. King Edmaris, feeling the weight of the situation, sighed in resignation. He understood Rimuru's true intent and knew that in reality, only option 1, his abdication, was feasible. However, Edmaris also recognized that after his abdication, no one would dare take the throne, fearing Rimuru's wrath. Thus, a plan emerged. He and Raisin would discreetly rally support for Hume to ascend as the new king. Hume was favored by Rimuru, hailed as a champion across Falmouth, and respected for his role in preserving the kingdom. Though his strength was not yet formidable, he was diligently training. Edmaris knew that presenting Hume as the new king would face no objections, not even from his ambitious brother Edward. Edward, despite his hunger for power, was not foolish enough to provoke the wrath of a godlike being such as Rimuru. As the meeting began, Edmaris opened by offering a heartfelt apology. He admitted that the kingdom's plight was the result of his greed and selfishness, not for the benefit of the people. He declared that attacking Tempest was the greatest mistake of his life, one that would be remembered as a monumental failure in history. Now, Falmouth was suffering greatly, and it was time to focus on rebuilding. Without hesitation, Edmaris declared that option 1, paying reparations and abdicating the throne, was the best choice. He emphasized that no amount of gold was worth more than the lives of the people. To demonstrate his resolve, he offered to abdicate immediately and pass the throne to his brother Edward. However, Edward flatly refused, pointing out that the nation's current state as an eyesore to the Chaos Creator made the position of king a dangerous one. Edward feared that Rimuru, should he so desire, could destroy Falmouth at a whim. Edward then suggested that Edmaris's son, Edgar, should take the throne. Edmaris, however, dismissed this idea, arguing that his son was too young and that the disgrace of angering a godlike existence had brought shame to his family. For this reason, he did not want his lineage to remain tied to the royal seat. As the discussion deepened, the nobles and attendees began to realize that Hume, favored by Rimuru and revered as a champion, was the only viable candidate. While Edmaris and Raisin continued to maneuver behind the scenes to make this transition seamless, the atmosphere remained heavy with fear and uncertainty, as no one dared to defy the will of the Chaos Creator. Edmaris began by recounting the terrifying events of Rimuru's wrath, describing how the Chaos Creator annihilated Falmouth's entire army without so much as lifting a finger. The nobles and attendants shuddered at the thought, their imaginations running wild about the true extent of the ancient demon lord's power. Raisin, the court's most knowledgeable figure on demons, followed with a grim history lesson on Rimuru Tempest, also known as the Abyss Demon. He explained how Rimuru had once nearly destroyed the world and was so overwhelmingly powerful that no one could stand against him. Only the creator of the world, a divine being, had managed to stop him. Raisin emphasized that Rimuru's title as the King of Hell surpassed even that of the Lord of Darkness, Guy Crimson, a feat that spoke to his unparalleled power. It was no wonder the army was wiped out so easily. His words left the room in stunned silence as the nobles and officials struggled to comprehend the magnitude of Rimuru's power. Edmaris broke the silence, pointing out that Rimuru's wrath was not limited to Falmouth. The entire world had suffered because of Falmouth's foolish actions, and now most nations harbored resentment toward them. Only Bloomond and Dworgen were spared, thanks to their alliances with Tempest. While other nations were left in ruins, Falmouth had been fortunate to survive, and that was solely due to Yume's intervention and Rimuru's unexpected mercy. Edmaris further added that even Hinata Sakaguchi, the powerful Holy Knight, had been easily defeated by Rimuru. At this point, the kingdom had no choice but to comply with Rimuru's demands. Finally, Edmaris declared his intention to name Yume the new king. However, his proposal was met with outrage from the nobles, who roared in protest, questioning how a commoner could be elevated to the throne of Falmouth. Their objections echoed through the hall, fueled by pride and disbelief. Raisin, visibly enraged by their audacity, cut through the noise with a booming voice. He berated the nobles for their stupidity, accusing them of recklessly endangering the kingdom further. Did they truly wish to provoke Tempest again, knowing it was home not only to the Storm Dragon but also to the Chaos Creator? The room fell silent once more under the weight of Raisin's fury. Raisin pressed on, explaining that the nobles' protest stemmed from their ignorance. They had not personally witnessed Rimuru's power nor endured the events that Raisin and Edmaris had survived. If they had, they would never dare object to the plan. He stressed that Yume was the only path to salvation. As king, Yume could establish relations with Tempest, securing Falmouth's safety under Rimuru's protection. Moreover, an alliance with Tempest would usher in unprecedented prosperity, as the monster nation was quickly becoming a global economic powerhouse, a force even the Eastern Empire would hesitate to challenge. The hall sank into a gloomy silence as the weight of Raisin's words settled over the nobles. None dared to speak, though the atmosphere remained tense. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. A soldier burst into the room at full speed, his face pale and his expression stricken with fear. Everyone turned to him. "Sir, we've just received an emergency report from the guild." Despite the fact that top-level legislative meeting was being held, none of the guards stopped him. The soldier, pale and trembling, delivered urgent news that left the room in stunned silence. First, he revealed that the Majin known as Toru, believed to be the king of the Jura Tempest Federation, was, in fact, the demon lord Rimuru Tempest. This revelation sent shockwaves through the hall, with nobles murmuring in disbelief. A primordial demon ruling a nation was unheard of. Only Edmaris and Raisin remained unfazed, as they had already deduced the truth during their captivity. The soldier continued, reporting that the demon lord Clayman had been killed due to an unknown conflict at Walpergus. When one of the nobles asked who was responsible for his death, the messenger admitted he had no further details. The room grew tense with speculation. The next piece of news was even more startling. The demon lords Carrion and Frey had relinquished their titles and pledged their allegiance to demon lord Milam Nava. With their departure, the remaining demon lords had rebranded themselves as the Octagram. The realization hit everyone like a tidal wave. This was the dawn of a new era, one spearheaded by the unprecedented rise of Rimuru Tempest. Even as the reports were recited, the nobles struggled to fully process the monumental changes. Edmaris seized the opportunity to solidify his proposal. He reminded everyone that the world was changing rapidly, and if Falmouth refused to adapt, they would inevitably become obsolete. He emphasized that Tempest was not only protected by Rimuru but also by Veldora, the Storm Dragon. In the face of such overwhelming power, any resistance would be futile. Edmaris reaffirmed his decision to abdicate the throne and nominate Yume as the new king. Turning to the gathered nobles, he asked if anyone had objections. This time, no one dared to speak. The weight of the reports and the fear of Rimuru's wrath silenced even the most prideful dissenters. With no opposition, the session moved forward smoothly. The nobles, though reluctant, had no choice but to accept the new reality. Falmouth's future now rested in the hands of Yume, under the shadow of Tempest's might. Dash 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 dash. Yuki, Kaguli, Footman, Tear, and Laplace gathered in a dimly lit, spacious room filled with an air of unease and tension. The room itself had a mysterious atmosphere, shadowy corners, a large wooden table in the center with scattered papers. Kaguli, her expression stoic yet tinged with subtle sorrow, leaned back in her chair, addressing the group with a calm but serious tone. "Clayman is dead," she stated, her voice cutting through the heavy silence. "What? That can't be." Footman frantically shouted in disbelief. His voice carried anger and desperation, as if refusing to accept her words. Laplace, always the calmest among the group, tilted his head, his carefree smirk dimming slightly. "Boss, you sure about this? What makes you think he's gone?" he asked, though his usually jovial tone now carried a hint of worry. Kaguli let out a small sigh, her golden eyes piercing as she met each of their gazes. I'm not guessing, she explained, her voice steady. The connection I had with Clayman, it was severed. It happened during the night of Walpergus. There's no doubt about it, he's gone. The room fell into an uneasy silence as the weight of Kaguli's words sank in. Footman and Tyr exchanged worried glances, while Laplace tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table, his mind clearly racing with possibilities. Yuki, who had been quietly observing from the side with his usual calm and calculating demeanor, finally spoke up, breaking the silence. If Kaguli is certain, then this changes things. We'll need to adjust our plans moving forward. Though no one said it aloud, the loss of Clayman marked a significant shift in their schemes, leaving a void they weren't prepared to deal with. This was my fault, Yuki regretfully lamented. I thought the demon lords were kids' stuff. I should have been more careful. It's not your fault, boss. There was no way for Clayman not to attend the Walpergus. Plus, you have to admit it, Clayman was too stupid for his own good this time. I told him not to let his guard down, but he got carried away with it, and it blew up on him. Said Laplace, trying in his way to comfort the others. Laplace, snarled Footman, you can't speak of him like that. I'm only telling the truth. He was weak, he got carried away, and was probably found out. I'm sure he was killed by Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest. After all, he was the one who called the Walpergus, it was probably a trap from the start, and now he's dead. Laplace. Angered by Laplace's words, Footman took a swing at Laplace. Laplace didn't bother to dodge and took on the attack. Oh, what, you wanna go, Footman? Well, be my guest. Laplace dared. Stop it, you two. Kaguli roared. This isn't the time to be fighting each other. She's right, Yuki added. Why are you playing the bad guy all by yourself here, Laplace? That's not like you. If anyone should play that role, it ought to be me. Ah, Footman finally realized what Laplace was trying to do. My apologies, Laplace. Nah, it's fine, but you know, pal, and you too, President, you sure are mean, ain't ya? Laplace rubbed his cheek as he complained. Yuki leaned against the wall of the room, arms crossed, his face a mix of frustration and disbelief. I can't believe it, he muttered, his voice laced with incredulity. The Majin I looked down on turned out to be a big shot. No, not just any big shot, but the Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest. An ancient demon, a primordial demon, of all things. The room was silent for a moment, the weight of his words lingering. Kaguli, seated at the table with a calm yet thoughtful expression, rested her chin on her hand. It's not that surprising, she said coolly, breaking the silence. Primordials are absolute in their control over their power. They can mask it completely, appearing as harmless as a mere human if they wish. She paused, her eyes narrowing slightly as she tapped a finger against the table. But what puzzles me, she continued, is why a being like Demon Lord Rimuru would bother mingling in human society under an alias like Toru. What's his aim? Laplace, who was lounging in a chair with his usual laid-back demeanor, waved a dismissive hand. Ah, don't go racking your brain over it, boss, he said with a smirk. Tryin' to figure out the thoughts of a being like that'll just give you a headache. Forget it, what we should be worried about is how we're gonna move forward. He straightened up slightly, his smirk fading as he became more serious. If I had to guess, Clayman probably didn't snitch on us before he bit the dust. So we might still have a shot to start over. That said, we're in a real tight spot right now, no doubt about it. Kaguli nodded in agreement, her expression darkening. He's right, we've lost everything, our base of operations, all the resources and forces Clayman had at his disposal, even his treasures. It's all gone. She exhaled deeply, her frustration evident but tempered by her resolve. It's a staggering loss, but we can't let it stop us. We'll need to regroup and rebuild, even if it means starting from scratch. What do you mean? Tyr asked. Whether the demon lords killed Clayman or not, we should still have his headquarters, don't we? I know that Clayman's forces were routed, added Footman, but we still have every chance to regroup and attack once again. We still have a Dalman, that crazed saint, patrolling the lands. A white like him is just as strong as any of us, and the curse you've laid upon him is as active as ever, isn't it, President? Kaguli exchanged glances with Yuki before slowly, painfully, opening her mouth. The complex I granted Clayman fell in the course of a single evening. Demon Lord Rimuru sent a small assault force to capture it. Huh, retorted Laplace. No, shouted Tyr, you're kidding me. So the Majin I saw on that battlefield wasn't even the full force at Demon Lord Rimuru disposal. Ah, wait a minute. Footman looked up for a moment. Hold on, I remember that crystal. Right, Yuki nodded. The images Laplace took. You saw the Kijins in there, didn't you? I think it's safe to say that each of them alone is a special A-grade threat in the battlefield. Footman fell silent, mouth agape. Really? Tear whispered. Which is why, Yuki continued. I think we need to reconsider our objectives. For the time being, we need to lay low. It's a shame about Clayman, but we don't have enough power to try to exact revenge upon the demon lords. If we want to reach our ultimate goal of conquering the world, I think we need to be patient for now. Everyone nodded in agreement. Right, I hate to say it, but doing anything rash right now is likely to make things even worse. After all, we have Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest to worry about. That's right, Yuki agreed. By now he might have probably figured out that I might be involved, or have suspicions. He acts naive, but I can tell he's quite sharp. If he suspects you, wouldn't he have already come after you? Asked Tyr. You're right, but we have no idea how the thought process of a person like him is. This is why I'm even more worried. I would have loved to retreat to the Empire, but doing that might prove his suspicions right. So we have to stay put. The room fell into a tense silence as the weight of their situation settled on them. Though Yuki's expression remained stoic, his mind was racing, already formulating plans to adapt to their new reality. The others, though equally troubled, shared a determined look. They weren't about to let this setback destroy everything they had worked for. Dash 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 dash. In the Eastern Empire, the inner chambers of the Eastern Empire's palace exuded grandeur befitting its immense power. The gilded walls, adorned with intricate carvings, shimmered under the light of massive chandeliers crafted from enchanted crystal. The air was heavy with the scent of exotic incense, a subtle but constant reminder of the Empire's wealth and prestige. Seated atop a grand, high-backed throne was Rudra Namal Nazca, the first chosen hero and ruler of the Eastern Empire. His golden blonde hair gleamed under the flickering light, and his piercing blue eyes seemed to see through everything and everyone. His clothing, woven with silk and interlaced with threads of pure gold, clung to him like a second skin, emphasizing his commanding presence. Power radiated from him, not just from his regal bearing but from the aura of magic that seemed to ripple faintly around his form. Before him knelt Tatsuya Kondo, the head of the Imperial Intelligence Bureau, rank 1 of the Imperial Guardians, and the Eastern Empire's strongest warrior. His ebony hair was immaculately styled, his sharp features reflecting both discipline and cunning. His posture was a perfect balance of submission and readiness, a man prepared to act at a moment's notice. Kondo had just finished delivering his report, one that had clearly displeased the Emperor. Rudra clicked his tongue in irritation, his fingers drumming lightly against the armrest of his throne. His voice, low and measured, carried a sharp edge as he muttered, "How annoying. To think that the king of the Jura Tempest Federation is none other than the primordial demon Argent, Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest. This complicates things." Turning his sharp gaze to Kondo, Rudra asked, "Is this information verified?" Kondo lowered his head further in a gesture of respect. "Yes, Your Majesty. Every source we have points to the same conclusion. It is beyond doubt." Rudra leaned back into his throne, his expression darkening. No wonder he unleashed his demons into the world. It was his declaration to all, he was in fact announcing his presence to the world. A bold move. His voice carried a hint of disdain. Although the Eastern Empire weren't spared from the demons' rampage, they fared far better than the rest of the world. After all, the Empire's military strength was so absurd they could conquer the world if they wanted to, but certain circumstances prevented them from outright doing so. Rudra continued, "And Veldora, he must be working alongside Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest. Tempest has no doubt become a force that cannot be underestimated." Kondo nodded. "Precisely. Their combined strength far exceeds what any ordinary army can contend with. This must be handled with the utmost care, Your Highness." Rudra's eyes narrow. "Kondo, gather every piece of information you can on Tempest, their military strength, their weaknesses. I want nothing overlooked." Kondo placed a fist to his chest in salute. "As you command, Your Majesty." Yet he hesitated, the faintest flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. Rudra, ever perceptive, noticed immediately. "What is it, Kondo? Speak." Kondo hesitated a moment longer before asking, "Are you still intent on passing through the Great Jura Forest to invade the Western nations?" With not only the storm dragon Veldora but demon lord Rimuru Tempest to contend with, this path grows more perilous by the day. The Emperor's gaze grew colder, his tone firm. Yes, the plan remains. We shall first acquire Veldora, but we will adapt as needed. I shall unite this world under my rule, just as I promised my mentor. Kondo nodded solemnly, his trust in Rudra unwavering. Understood, Your Majesty. With a final bow, he rose and departed, his steps silent yet purposeful. As soon as the grand doors of the chamber closed behind him, the air seemed to shift. A figure materialized out of thin air within the room. Rudra didn't so much as flinch, his calm, calculating demeanor unbroken. The figure was that of a stunningly beautiful woman with twin buns of azure blue hair tied with black ribbons. Her golden eyes gleamed with intelligence and mischief, and her form was clad in a dark cheongsam adorned with intricate golden dragon patterns. White gloves and thigh-high boots, both accented with golden ornaments, completed her striking appearance. The woman had a sly smile playing on her lips. Rudra regarded her silently for a moment, his expression unreadable as he began to piece together his next move in this ever-complicated game of power. The atmosphere in the grand chamber grew heavy as the blue-haired woman, Velgrind, approached Rudra with an air of both confidence and affection. Her every step radiated an aura of immense power, befitting her status as the Scorched Dragon, the third oldest of the true dragons and the fastest among them. She reached out, her hand brushing gently against Rudra's cheek as she spoke, her voice soft yet carrying the weight of her centuries of wisdom. Rudra, Velgrind began, her golden eyes locking with his, are you truly set on this path? Antagonizing Rimuru Tempest is no small matter. Rudra met her gaze without flinching, his expression resolute. Yes, Velgrind, this is the only way to ensure our plans succeed. No kingdom, no force, not even Rimuru, can stand in my way. Velgrind sighed, her hands slipping from his face as she stepped back, folding her arms. Her tone carried a mix of concern and exasperation. You should reconsider. It was one thing when Veldora was immature and reckless, but now, he's no longer the fool he once was. Rimuru has tempered him, and together, they're a formidable force. Adding Rimuru into the mix only increases the chances of our plans crumbling before they even begin. Her piercing gaze softened slightly, but her words remained firm. Avoid the great Jura forest, Rudra. We can always circumvent it. If you insist, I can even create a space-time connection directly to the Western nations. There's no need to provoke them unnecessarily. But Rudra shook his head, his golden blonde hair catching the light as he leaned forward slightly on his throne, his expression cold and unyielding. No, if I want to defeat Guy, it cannot be a narrow victory. It must be overwhelming. To do that, I need Veldora. I will dominate him, just as I have dominated others. With two true dragons by my side, Guy will fall, and the Western nations will crumble. My victory will be absolute. Velgrind frowned, her golden eyes narrowing slightly. And what of Rimuru Tempest? If you think Veldora is the key, do you believe Rimuru will stand idly by and watch you subjugate him? They share a bond stronger than any you can imagine. Rimuru won't allow it. Rudra's gaze hardened further, though a flicker of contemplation crossed his face. I am aware of Rimuru's potential interference. That's why we must act decisively and with precision. Rimuru is powerful, yes, but power alone cannot outmatch a carefully laid strategy. If I must crush him as well, then so be it. Velgrind let out a deep sigh, the heat of her presence subtly rising as her frustration grew. You're underestimating them. Guy alone is a challenge even with me by your side, and Rimuru isn't just another demon lord. He's different. His potential might surpass even ours if left unchecked. I've heard about the chaos he's unleashed upon the world, and I know that beneath his calm demeanor lies a terrifying force. Do not treat him like a mere obstacle. Rudra smirked, rising from his throne and standing before her. He placed a hand on her shoulder, his tone softening, though his determination remained unshaken. Grinned, I appreciate your concern. But I've planned for this. Rimuru, Veldora, and even Guy, they are merely challenges on my path to uniting this world. With you by my side, no force can stop me. Velgrind's golden eyes searched his face for a moment before she closed them, resigned. She knew that when Rudra had set his mind to something, no amount of reasoning could sway him. Very well, she said softly. I shall support you till the very end. Her words hung in the air like a warning, but Rudra merely smiled. Thank you, grinned. After some time, Velgrind exits Rudra's chamber silently, making it look like she was never there. The chamber suddenly grows colder as Rudra's golden eyes glimmer faintly under the dim light before shifting into a deep crimson hue. The shift in his gaze reflects more than just a change in color, it is the emergence of a presence far darker, far more calculating. The air shimmers subtly, and a rift tears through reality as a figure steps into the room with an aura of otherworldly authority. Feldway, the leader of the primordial angels, appears. His dark blue eyes gleam with cunning, and his blonde hair shines under the faint light. The red military uniform he wears, trimmed with black accents, exudes a chilling elegance befitting his status. Michael Sama, Feldway addresses Rudra, his voice is calm but laced with anticipation. How much longer until the body is completely yours? Michael smirks, a sharp, confident curve of his lips. Not long now, he replies, his voice colder than Rudra's. The preparations are almost complete. Soon, this vessel will be mine entirely, and with it, we can finally resurrect Veldanava Sama. A flicker of pride and happiness crosses Feldway's face. Michael's expression hardens with seriousness. And what of the obstacles? He asks, his tone heavy with significance. If we proceed, we'll undoubtedly face resistance, Guy Crimson and Rimuru Tempest. Those two will be the greatest threats to our plans. Tell me, Feldway, are you prepared? Feldway nods with certainty, his presence unwavering. I've already accounted for both of them. I've laid the groundwork to ensure they will not hinder us. When the time comes, even the strongest primordial demons will falter. Michael chuckles softly, his amusement laced with menace. Good, timing is everything, after all. Let them enjoy their moment of peace, it won't last. Soon, everything will fall into place, and Veldanava Sama will return to reclaim his rightful throne. As the conversation ends, the two figures remain in the chamber, a silence more oppressive than any words lingering between them. The air is heavy with their unspoken schemes, their combined presence like a storm waiting to be unleashed. The pieces of their grand design are steadily falling into place, and the world will soon bear witness to the consequences of their ambition. To be continued.